Hello everyone, Dylan or the Thomas Modeler here, and today I am going to be doing another unboxing video, and today's unboxing video is going to be yet another Hornby locomotive. And this new Hornby locomotive that I actually got off eBay recently, and you're all probably wondering, what is this new locomotive that I recently got off eBay? Well, you're all about to find out. Here we have yet another Hornby Thomas, but this is just not any Hornby Thomas. This here is yet another 1985 Hornby Thomas. Now, this one is really special. And no, it's not special because it actually has the classic packaging from the early days of Hornby, but this Thomas is really special, and you'll see why in just a moment. But anyways, I don't want to waste any time, so let's get into the unboxing video. So before we get into taking Thomas out of the box, let's just look at and appreciate the classic Railway Series artwork right there. And as you can see the model number of the Hornby Thomas. It is an R351. Then you'll see it says The World of Thomas the Tank Engine by Hornby. It says it right there too. On the side as well, and if we look at the back, it will actually show additional items that you can get from The World of Thomas the Tank Engine. It's hard to see, but you can get Thomas, Percy, the Timoth the Timoth milk tank, an open wagon, closed wagon, brake van, Annie, Clarabelle, a tunnel, station, water tower, signal box, signal box, signals, engine shed, goods sheds, and footbridge. I don't have these, but I'm hopefully going to try getting these. Then you'll see the other Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends logo and the Railway Series artwork. More World of Thomas the Tank Engine. Then it'll say Made in England by Hornby Lobbies Limited, Westwood, Margate, Kent, England. Now it's kind of hard to see, but it will say Hornby is a registered trademark of Hornby Hobbies Limited. So anyways guys, without further ado, let's get them out of the box. Gotta be nice and gentle. Ah, there he is. I actually like the way how Hornby looks, because in actuality, Thomas the Tank Engine in Hornby's range, he is based off his real-life counterpart, which is the E2 LBSC. That's why he looks long and all that. Oh, and pardon if the audio quality is still bad. That's because I'm still filming off my Fujifilm camera. But I'm thinking about using the GoPro or my other camera for future videos, but for now I'm going to use this. So anyways, let's go ahead and get them out of the box. I'm just going to put it on top of the box. Now, let's get a look at the face. Yes, here we are, boys and girls. Here we have yet another Railway Series Hornby Thomas. Now, I do own a Railway Series Hornby Thomas, but that's a different face. And I will actually compare my two models in just a moment. But yeah, we just gotta appreciate that face. I actually like it. Now, and it does have the red pinstriping on the back. And it's kind of hard to look. Hang on, let me... Ah, there we go. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look right in there, it'll say Made in Great Britain. I'll actually do another video on this subject, but for now, I'm just going to show you Thomas. Now, sadly, he did not come with his, whatever you call those little hose things, coupling hoses, whatever you call those. But luckily, I had a broken Hornby Thomas that was based on the TV series that actually had these, and they are right here. I am going to put these on soon as I stop recording. So anyways, guys, I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to go grab my other Railway Series Thomas. Alright everyone, I am back, and without further ado, let's continue on with the video. So I got the, actually let me point with a screwdriver. I did get the hoses put into the back and front, as you can see. So he's somewhat complete now. Let me put Thomas a little bit closer like that. There we go. But anyways, before we get him running on the tracks, I'm going to go ahead and grab my other 1985 Hornby Thomas and basically do a little comparison of the two models. So anyways, here is my other Thomas. Now, as you can see, they have two completely different faces, as you can see. Well, just before we get into running the new one, let me just give a little backstory behind why these two were basically made. So, just to make a long story short, in 1985, a year after Thomas and Friends came out on television, Hornby decided to buy licensing to produce model trains based on Thomas and Friends. So, they came out with many different prototypes. Now, the original prototype, which a photo of it will appear right here, basically, this prototype, which actually had this face right here, basically the body was based off the actual tooling used for the Hornby E2 LBSC, which was produced like maybe in the early 70s or whatever. Like, I know it was somewhere around the 70s that they had the E2 LBSC Hornby model. And also the funnel was a bit shorter because the E2 actually had a shorter dome and all that. And also in the photo appeared right here, this model was produced right here as well, being side by side. Then eventually, they ended up scrapping the original prototype with this one right here. These were the official models being sold on the store shelves. And believe it or not, some of these models were sold as a complete train set in the World of the Thomas the Tank Engine train sets made by Hornby. And they were also sold individually as well. But eventually, I guess about almost by the end of 1985, these were only made for a limited time, and they were not really well received by the creator of Thomas and Friends, who is the Reverend Wilbert Audrey. You see, he didn't really care for the faces at all. So, like I said before, these were only made for a limited time, and then eventually, I think it was like almost by the end of 1985, Hornby ended up discontinuing these, and they decided to replace the faces that was more loosely based off the TV series faces, which we all know and love today, and what the models looked like until the discontinuation of the Thomas and Friends range from Hornby in 2018. By 2018, I should say, the end of it. So as years went on, these models here, actually let me use a screwdriver, these models here are pretty much rare these days. You can easily find some of these models on eBay if you're lucky enough. This model here is hard to come by these days though. But this model here, there we go, this model here, they are somewhat easier to find, but half the time if you want to buy these rare locos, you can't even buy them as a buy it now, because most of these Thomases you see here are mostly listed as an auction and not a buy it now listing. And you're all probably wondering, are these models worth anything since they are considered antiques? Well, in my honest opinion, they are not really worth anything. Now, I've seen people put old locomotives up for sale, like I've seen a Hornby Duck from 1985 go up for $100, because some of the older locos released in the Thomas & Friends range in 1985 were sold a lot more than the Thomases that you see right here. But anyways, so just a little backstory behind these two. This Thomas right here is my very first Thomas that I got from the 1985 range. Now, believe it or not, you'll notice that his wheels do not look original to the original 85 model. Well, that's because I originally bought him, he had a broken motor and some of his wheels and side rods were broken. So I ended up getting a 2006 model, and I ended up using the wheels off that, and I ended up modifying it to make it look like the 85 model, including the little crank pins that hold the side rods in. Now, and also, normally these older models had blue gears, like this one right here. But the original blue gear is gone because it got stripped. And also, I went so many I basically refurbished this model so many times, until eventually his other motor that I bought him blew up. So I got my good buddy Kevin Jenner to fix him. So he is pretty much retrofitted with the classic casing for the motor, and he does have the sprung back wheel, because when I used the 2006 chassis for this thing, it did not have a sprung back wheel. And you will notice that this is the 2006 model because they don't have traction tires on the wheels. So yeah. But nonetheless, overall, most of him is almost original. But just a little heads up, I got this guy here months back in an eBay auction for $37, which was not bad for the winning bid. This guy was really hard to win because I almost lost to him due to a power outage, but I was able to get the power back on, and I was able to win him before the auction ended. Now this Thomas, the other 85 Thomas that I got today, now this guy is a completely different story. I actually won this Thomas in yet another eBay auction, but this time I was able to win this guy at $35 with me being the winning bidder. And I've been looking for this specific model for a really, really long time, ever since I discovered Kevin's video on his Hornby Thomas. And by the way, I'll link his video down below if you want to watch his very first video on him showing his Thomas, which is this exact model here. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and just compare the faces real quick before getting into running him. Let's move the camera a little bit farther. So as you can see, they are both Railway Series faces, like you can tell based on the artwork. Now, this face here was more based off the artwork that's like off the illustrations, like on the cover and all that. This face here is a similar story, but it's slightly different. But overall, you can tell that they are, oops, didn't mean to do that. You can tell they are the same bodies because they use the same toolings as the other models. And like I mentioned before about the original prototype that was released, the tooling was more based off the actual E2. that Hornby introduced years ago. But yeah, pretty much, yeah. Same tooling and all that, just it has a different face. Okay. But overall, which one do I like the most? Well, in all honesty, even though that this guy here was my very first Railway Series Hornby Thomas, this one here is actually my most favorite. I don't know what it is, I just love the face. I just love the face on this one. And let's just say that I'm really happy to own this one now, because ever since I saw Kevin's video on it, I've been dreaming of owning one. Took me a long time, but I finally own one. And I'm very grateful that I got this guy. Now, but yeah, I do like this guy too, but he was my original model, but I'll still cherish this one regardless. And there's going to be a little special model railway event that's happening next year, and I'm planning on getting this Thomas DCC fitted, or not DCC fitted, but DCC ready, because I'm thinking about meeting Kevin in real life next year to bring my Thomas, and he's going to bring his 85 Thomas, and we're going to basically try running our locos, maybe like double heading and such. But anyways, before we begin, I just want to show you something about this Thomas, which really worries me. Now, if you look right here, you'll notice the middle drive wheel with traction tires. Now, I was taking this little guy apart, cleaning him and such, and I noticed that the little wheels right here, because I took a 9-volt battery to him, and he was having a hard time trying to draw power. And I think it's the wheel, because it's so rusty and a little bit, it's like a little bit jagged and a little bit flat on certain areas, but he still runs. But luckily I got spare wheels with traction tires from that same era, so I'm thinking about actually replacing them, but for now they're going to stay. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get my new Thomas on the track. Alright everyone, before we begin, I'm going to show you what Thomas will be pulling in the final part of the video, which is him running. So for his rolling stock, he's going to be pulling Annie and Clarabelle. And just a little heads up, no, these are not 1985 as well, these are the 2006 coaches, but they're about the same color, so I really don't mind. But anyways, so he's going to be pulling Annie and Clarabelle on this small little 00 scale layout that I put together a while back. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get into Thanks for watching, and hope to see you all very soon.